you're writing, okay? It's flowing. You get through chapter 1, 2, 3. Suddenly chapter 4 hits and you're stuck. Where can the story go from here? What can we do to get the ship back on the ocean moving again? I don't even know what I'm trying to say. That's what we're talking about today on the StoryPod podcast.
Come on in, bestie. Welcome to StoryPod, where we do the doing of story development together. Brought to you by Creative BFF.
Hello, listen. My name is Ashley. I don't know why I always tell you guys to listen. Listen, okay? I love you. My name is Ashley. This is the StoryPod podcast brought to you by Creative BFF, which is me. Who is I? Before I get started, if you have any story questions, if I can help you in any way, and you will let me put it up on this podcast to answer your question, please feel free to shoot me an email to ash@creativebff.com. Almost forgot my email, girl. Or you can go to my website to the contact section, which is creativebff.com. All of that is linked down below. Okay. Now you may be noticing something. If you're watching this, you see me in motion. If you're listening to this, perhaps you hear the sounds of little feet scraping against a treadmill. Perhaps my breath is not as smooth as it usually is. You know, you hear a fan, maybe an air conditioning somewhere. That's because your girl's trying to get steps. All right. I'm trying not to be sitting down all the time. So I figured let's, kill two birds with one stone. Do we still say that? Do we still say phrases like that? And let's get some steps while we're recording some videos, while we chat. Because I love a good walk and talk. Okay, so join me. Get some steps. Put your phone in your pocket. Okay, whatever your step counter is. Get up and march in place. Okay, pace around your house. Go outside for a walk, whatever. But let's get some steps together while we think about story stuff. So, back to our original question. It's a Reddit question. Okay, girl, because you and I have not connected yet on a brainstorm level, so we go to Reddit to find our questions. So I'm gonna read it to you right now. All right, let's do it. So, from the r/writing hub subreddit, how can I come up with ideas for chapter 4 of my book? What can I do to write chapter 4 of my book, Rex and Roxy? It's a horror/goth/teenage dark romance book about two 11th graders who love alt-goth music, and they both have family conflicts. Both are older siblings. And I ran out of ideas. I'm on writer's block. I tried to imagine myself being in their shoes, but nothing worked. What are some websites or prompt websites I can use to help me? So now, in this question, there was one answer. The person sounds like perhaps they are familiar with the story or they know the asker of the question. And they asked, what are the horror aspects? Have the monster/horror thing attacked, not necessarily revealing itself, but put one or both characters in danger, and the next chapter start progressing Rex and Roxy's romance as they recover from the attack. And then the original poster says, I'm thinking of them going into a haunted house. It seems normal, but then they get kidnapped by a gang led by bad guys Marco and Mirko, who are twins. But thankfully, Rex kills them with a knife. But I don't know how to come up with what to say about it and what they'll say during it. So, it sounds to me like perhaps this person is writing straight ahead without the benefit of doing some story structure, some plotting before they started writing, which is fine. If that's your jam, listen. Live your life, okay? If you like it, I love it. For me, I like to have an idea of what's going to be happening in the story before I start writing. And I feel like that's an efficient way to write so that as I get through the story, I don't have to backtrack and rewrite things that happened in chapter 1 as I'm on chapter 16 so that I can plant something that I need in chapter 1 to bear fruit in chapter 16, right? So what I would do, even if you haven't like given yourself the time to write a story structure or to plot, or even just to think about beats and things like that, story beats and stuff, whatever story structure you like to use, they're all sort of very similar, kind of the same a little bit. Some places that I would go to kind of help in the middle is identifying, okay, what is the goal that we are working towards in the story? What are Rex and Roxy trying to do? Is there something that they need to solve? Who are the antagonists? You know, what are the antagonists trying to do? Because oftentimes something that the antagonist is doing can help push the story forward, right? Who are your side characters? Sounds like the B story is, you know, based on like the question that the other person asked. The B story, I guess, could be their relationship, or maybe the relationship is the primary and the B story is like the supernatural, haunted, horror elements, perhaps, and how they navigate the horror while falling in love, you know, or flip that in the reverse. But, you know, I'm looking at, all right, what are their goals? What are the motivations of the characters? What are the antagonists doing? What is the end goal of the story? What's the end of the story that we're going to? Maybe if you haven't thought about that, maybe pause for a moment, pause on chapter 4, okay? And let's think about, where do we end up in the world? Is it that Rex and Roxy save their neighborhood from some crazy horror demon thing, and on the way they fall in love, but there's this thing that's been stalking their families, you know, for generations, and now they have to try to combat it, you know, that kind of thing. Going back, it could be, I think, let me see, did the person, okay, so they said they go to a haunted house, but okay, so they're going to, now of course I'm answering as always with very limited knowledge of the story being told. So to me, it seems like going to the haunted house, and it's not normal, you know, it seems normal, but then they get kidnapped by a gang led by these twins, and then Rex kills them with a knife. Okay, so now, okay, but I don't know how to come up with what to say about it and what they'll say during it. So if you've established that there is this gang led by twins Marco and Mirko, who is either actively antagonistic towards your main characters, or they operate a haunted house that does what? That like mugs people as they go through, steals their stuff, or is there a supernatural element? Are they emboldened and empowered by demons, or whatever your horror element is? Let me see. Dark, so horror. Yeah, so identifying your horror elements is going to be key. Take some time. Give yourself some time. Identify the key elements. And even if you're not writing a horror, let's broaden it out. Identify these key elements in your story. Figure out these moving parts, these cogs, these toys that you can play with, these, you know, toy soldiers that you can place where you want them to go. So from just this little thing, elements that we have are these two characters who have family issues and are into gothy horror type stuff, right? There are horror elements to the story, okay? We've got gang activity. We've got, you know, a haunted house, which may or may not be actually haunted. The gang activity could just be normal gang activity, or it could be supernatural gang activity. Then Rex kills the gang, bro, or at least the twins. So now we can think about the repercussions of that action. You know, what happens now to Rex that he killed these gang members. There's a lot of different branching paths that you can take. But in order to get them, for example, to get them to the haunted house, let's get some motivations. You know, who are our side characters? You know, what is the time of year? Is it Halloween? So it'd be normal that, okay, so now we're like in love and we've confessed to each other, or we are kind of like, ooh, I like him, ooh, I like her, you know, and the friends, the besties are like, okay, let's do a little setup. I'll make sure Roxy is at the haunted house. This new haunted house popped up. You know, I've been hearing such great things on social media about it. It looks crazy, insane, you know, and so Rex's bros know that, that sounds super old. Rex's bros know that he's into Roxy. Roxy's girls know that she's into Rex. And so they're like, okay, let's get our friends together. Let's go meet at the haunted house, you know, that everybody's talking about. It's so crazy. And then that whole situation happens, especially if it's like a teen situation. That's a normal thing, right? Friends are trying to help their friends get together. And so they set up like a little date type of situation. Up to that point, we don't know what sort of interactions and circumstances and plot points and things have led to this point, but it can be a very organic through line. And then it goes all the way left, you know. Rex ends up killing some guys, bro. Rex, 11th grader Rex just killed some gang members, bro. How? You know, is he super powered? Or, you know, what made him able to, why is he taking a knife, bro, to the haunted? I have a lot of questions. The room is full of questions. All right. I'm not gonna nitpick the story. Okay. Especially since I don't know what's going on, girl. All right. You don't know what's going on in the story. Don't nitpick it. All right. But listen, let me see if I can make it more general. Let's look at your motivations. TLDR. Okay. For, you know, mid-book, act 2 type of slowdowns. Remind yourself of motivations of the characters, their goals. What is the story goal? Because if you have in mind the end, you can backtrack, right? You can backtrack and set up what needs to happen in order to get to that end. So start thinking about the end of the story a little bit if you don't already know what that is. Let's think about the antagonist or your antagonistic forces, whether it is Marco and Mirko plus general supernatural horror. How can we bring the antagonistic forces in your story into conflict with Rex and Roxy, or your character, right? Your characters. And I would say take a moment and give yourself the opportunity to come up with your story structure and start plotting out your beats. And it will make your writing process easier and you can be more confident. But if you hate it, you know, if you hate doing story structure, I feel you. Listen, I understand. Do what you need to do what's best for you. But those are the places that I would start looking for. Okay, what can happen in chapter 4? What is your B story? What are the side characters doing? You know, what's happening in the world? And then what are the consequences, the natural flow of consequences coming out of things that you've already had happen in the story, right? They confessed to each other. So what's the natural consequences of that? Or there was a misunderstanding, as much as I really don't like unnecessary misunderstanding. It's teenagers, okay? There's always misunderstandings. Perhaps there's a misunderstanding. So what are the consequences of that? One or both of them have something that happens in their family. What are the consequences of that? You know, all of that kind of stuff. So those are the places that I would go to start, you know, picking the pace back up a little bit. Do some puzzle, you know, solving the puzzle in your mind a little bit. Think about it a little bit. But anyway, What's your answer? I don't know why I'm throwing my hands up. But what are your answers? How would you approach like a mid-book slump? How do you, if you're a writer, how do you approach a mid-book slump? That was for some reason hard to say. How do you get the writing going? Again, and there's always other stuff like listen to music and refresh yourself in other ways, but how can we really get to the nitty gritty of like getting this story together, once we're back in front of it? Anyway, listen, keep hitting my little microphone. Love you guys. Have a good rest of your day. I don't know why I'm always like blinking so hard doing all this. Anyway, you love me anyway, right? Because I still love you. Have a great rest of your day. Okay, I hope you got some steps in. Hope you were mobile. And if not, listen, I hope you're productive. And if not, I hope you enjoyed your rest. Have a great day. See you next time, next week. All right. Same time, same place, girl. See you then.